Hi, welcome. This is the Sunny Mountain Allspice back button down Peter Pan collar shirt. It's a mouthful, but oh my gosh, it's so adorable. It's got lots of buttons down the back. It comes in three different styles. So there's sleeveless and then the sleeve, so short sleeve or long sleeve. So first, for either one, any of the options, we're going to attach the button placket by folding in half to each of the backs. This is going to be on the right side, the correct side, the side that's going to show out. So once you've sewn that down, we pin the shoulders together, right sides together to the front. The front in this case is going to be the cut on fold, so it's going to be a whole piece. And then we're going to do the collars. So we want to pin the outside of the collar right sides together to the lining, and then sew it. When you fold it outwards, it's going to roll over. The outside's going to roll over towards the bottom, so don't worry, that's supposed to happen. We roll it over and you press it. You can top stitch if you want. So now I'm just making sure that I've cut the correct side. We're going to put the collar pieces to the right side, because we're not doing anything else to this, and make sure that they meet in the center. They shouldn't overlap over the button placket because you won't be able to close it nicely. I was a little careless here. That was my mistake. But if you cut the shoulder notches in the collar, they should match with the shoulder seam. So once you've done it 1/4 inch from the neckline, now we're going to finish with bias tape. You can of course cut your own bias. It's about 1/2 inch wide. So we're going to pin at about 1/4 inch, a little bit more, or where the fold is for the double fold bias tape. So normally for curves I would use pins perpendicular, but in this case I want to make sure that the line is aligned and the edges of the neckline and the bias tape is aligned. So I leave about an inch overlap, 1/2 inch. Oh, if you heard that, that was my dog. He just wagged his tail and hit something. So we're going to sew that, and now we're going to flip it over. You might have to do a little trimming. Oh, and then fold over that extra piece. I try to do a half double fold, but this is just too narrow. If you have a wider bias, go ahead and double fold if you want. You want it kind of thin. So in the case here, I'm folding it over and we're going to stitch it down. But notice how I popped out the collar, so I'm not stitching the collar at the same time. I'm going to do the portion under the collar on the bodice. After you sew that, then you flatten it, you pin it. You can press if you feel like it. Probably gonna want it. It's gonna be a little wavy. Don't worry, that wave will go away when it sits on somebody's shoulder. Top stitch that around the neckline. So here is an option. Oh my goodness, this is fast. For long sleeve or short sleeves. It's not for the sleeveless option. Oh, the neckline finishing was for the sleeved option. There's gonna be a whole different way to do it for the sleeveless. So here you can see I've got long stitches on there, and I'm gathering it so it fits. I match the center line and the edges, and then I kind of zhuzh it until it fits. The other way I did it was the hack, where you put your scissors in the back and stitch along it and let it gather up without any thread in the needle. So then we stitched it down for both sides at, of course, the 3/8 of an inch, and then you pull out the thread for when you did the long stitching. I'm not saying the word because I had a brain fart, it's late. So now we're going to finish the hem. I do about inch and a half. Inch and a half is better from each end. That way when I go ahead and sew the side seam, I can have a nice smooth seam by just rolling it over and then just stitching that in one part. For kids wear, it's really hard to do this when it's already been sewn. So you can see how I popped out the hem, and now I'm just matching up the underarms and the sides to the bottom, and then I'm going to stitch all the way around there. So this is how you attach facing shoulders for the sleeveless option. This is a separate cut for the facing for the sleeveless option. Notice this is a different fabric. It's just because I sort of forgot to film this is from a different top. So you attach it to the bodice facing after you've already put on the collar. I forgot to add that in. Same thing, the collar's still going to be on the right side. So the collar should be in between, sandwiched in between here. These are the right sides together. Press open the seams if you can. It makes it less bulky. You do not have to finish these seams because they're going to evert and be all encased. So then you sew along the neckline and both armholes. Magnetic pin holders are great for this, by the way, because you can see how the pin keep rolling off. They kept rolling out off the table. Do I do the armhole? Yes, I do. So you have to do the armholes. It's basically after this, you got to pull it all through to invert it through the portion that the shoulder is. Oh, I forgot to put in the. Oh no, I haven't done it. Clip the curves. These are kind of tight. So clip or make notches as appropriate. I think when it has to curve inwards, notches are very nice. So now we're going to evert it. Now this is where the magic is. It's super cool. This is why I do this. You can pull, and I'm sorry this is the sailor collar, but it's the same idea. The collar is going to pop out too. And pull both sides. See how it's through the portion where the shoulder is? And then you will probably need to press it. I had to press it, I'm not good enough. So then you can top stitch that, but we're going to sew the side seam. So here, this is the one with the oh, I bumped the camera. It's the same idea, just for the sleeve version, you would start from the wrist down. This is from the underarm. I flipped open the bodice seaming. So here's the little trick for when you have the sleeve. You just pop that down and you sew just between where basically you can see where my thumb is. I have a quilting machine. I don't even have that small little foot. So here's option 1 for hemming. Since it's curved, you can do a double fold over, but you're going to have to be very careful to make sure it's not that thick, because the thicker you go, the more bunching you'll have. The other option is to use bias tape. So on the right side or the outside, you would attach the bias tape matching the seam lines, and then you flip it over and then sew it down on the inside or the wrong side. This is pretty nice and easy to do, but it uses bias tape, of course. So the best way, if you're trying to conserve bias tape or other fabric, is just to do the double fold over. But this is so convenient if you have the bias tape to do it, because the curves are kind of a pain sometimes. Again, I like to have the fold over so you have that nice seam. Then you flip it over and sew it all together. So once you made buttonholes, here's how I add on the buttons. I've already marked it out with my guide. I use the buttonhole itself location, because even if you mark it out, if you make a mistake, at least this way it's guaranteed to be the correct location of the buttonhole. I'm using sashiko thread. I like it. It's very thick. It's got a nice feel to it, and it knots up well. Just sometimes a detriment. And so you button it, and then you can move on to the next one and make sure it's all flat so that you have the buttons in the correct place. You see how nice and thick this is. One strand of sashiko thread. It's cotton. It's not too shiny. It's not too slippery. It's great. And there you have it. Just go all the way down. You may notice my buttonholes look a little different. It's because I did the buttonhole hack. You can go look up my other video on my YouTube channel for that. So thank you. That was the tutorial.